Okay, so hello everybody, and what I want to do is tell you what we're going to do. No surprises. Today is June 16, and the latest news, I need to really put it in. It's right here. So just open it in the new tab right here and put it into our outline. But I will not talk about it the first thing, but rather the second thing. Here you are. Okay, so hello, I'll talk about this. I will mention a little bit of the previous webinar, which was a channel webinar that the training company. Hi, everybody. And just briefly tell you what was going on there. But then I'll show you some of my projects and use this chance to talk about the architecture. And then finally, I'm going through the courses, which I, of course, recommend, and I'll tell you what are these courses. And finally, that's the latest news. You started seeing some interesting stuff about ChatGPT, and you wonder, where do the guys get it? And obviously, they're just retelling you the content of that blog. So let's go to the original. Okay, now I try to be useful, and I honestly tell you guys what I'm doing, which my boss would hate that because he will probably say all the competitors are gonna do this. But that is exactly the point. I think that all the competitors are going to do it, whether I tell them or not, because I don't invent it. I learn and I use good practices, and something very nice comes out, right? So let's start with this webinar. I'm not sure if they publish that recording, but it doesn't matter because everybody is saying, I want GPT in my company. It's just a case of point and a light conversation. So usually this channel gets maybe 30, 50 people. This time, 1,700 people signed up just based on the bringing ChatGPT into your company. And actually 350 people attended. What was interesting, the content of that I will be telling. What was interesting is that there were left 12 questions that I didn't have the time to answer. So they sent me the questions. By the way, some were in Chinese because I claim that I understand Chinese. And 9 out of 12 I answered using ChatGPT, and I openly said so. And that is because, look, we're humans. We like to communicate, and we like to ask questions, right? And that's why people ask questions. They like to ask questions. They want to communicate. Yeah, they can ask ChatGPT and get the complete answer. But I guess that's exactly what we're discovering about ourselves. What is special about us? Okay, that's a little bit of philosophy. Now, my projects. Now, one of my projects, and that's my first project that I started with, and then copy pasted the functionality with the changes. I'll tell you about the functionality and the changes, how I did this and how I'll do the next one. The first one, I called it Moses AI. That is a fast API implementation of ChatGPT based on my own collection of documents. The collection of documents is found right here. Talmud Illuminated. I'm Jewish. I'm a guy who likes to learn, and I learned all of the Talmud, which is 2,711 pages. I know that makes me kind of crazy a little bit, but that's okay, because some practical results also came out of that. And each one of those, let's go random. Let's go anywhere, okay? And let's look at any one of them. You see, the nice thing about this is that it is accompanied by a painting selected by my wife, who is an expert in art, and which painting argues essentially with the text. That is deep. ChatGPT wouldn't get it. But what it does get is the text. So you can ask it any question based on exactly this. Let's ask it a question. So if you want me to ask any specific question, just type this question. If not, I'll ask something on my own. One thing that came up. Okay, I see some questions. And what is the tree of life? Great question. Okay, let us ask what. I'll copy paste to make life easier. Oh. What is the tree of life? And click on execute. Now, of course, I need to make a nice interface and maybe pictures and all of that, but that's the essence. It will be still asking my interface, ChatGPT, and that was very easy to put on the web, so it's here. And it says, a tree of life is a symbol of immortality and eternal, and so on. You can try it yourself. It's mosesai.org. It goes into Kabbalah, here, 10 Sefirot, and it probably is in my text because it is very interesting what ChatGPT does. When you ask him a question on the background of all the information, and sometimes it goes into a wider area and sometimes it doesn't. For example, if I ask about, is there a constitution in the Talmud? And I make spelling mistakes, it's okay, it understands me. So it should say, I don't know. There shouldn't be such a thing in the Talmud because back then there was no constitution. Okay, let's look. There is a constitution in the Talmud, beautiful, right? And then talks about all the rest. So I wanted to prove that it is really based on my text and nothing else. Technically, how it works. You all want to know. So it's not hard to find out how it works because that is all described. Let's go back. That's our page. In our page last time, I was showing you the new courses from Andrew Ng. Oh yes, we are saying that ChatGPT includes the entire text of the Talmud, but this is my summaries, and I prefer to go by my summaries because, well, for me, it was the best thing to develop because I have a knowledge. I know what to expect. It takes, by the way, 7.5 years to go through the Talmud. I did it 5 times, which puts my age at 35 at least, right? And sometimes it goes out to its wider knowledge, but sometimes it restrains itself to just be based on my summaries. I hope I answered the question. So if you want to build exactly that for yourself, that describes the architecture of how you do it. And I will describe it to you in a few words. First thing is that you need all the documents. Like in my case, I had to put this into a search engine, my private search engine, and not any search engine, but a specific search engine. by the way, people do use ChatGPT to study together with in the Talmud, and they say, I am on this page, answer this question. I think it does it. But going back, I had to take these pages and stick them into Pinecone. Pinecone is, you can think of it as Solr or Elastic, but only doing syntactic search. It's not using keywords. No, it's using the meaning. It takes my query, understands it. Well, doesn't quite understand it, but finds the documents that are similar in meaning to my query, and that will be useful to understand. That is step number one. Step number two, you take all these documents and you send it to ChatGPT using the next project called LangChain, and that as mentioned here. Right here, LangChain, that's the second course, and Andrew Ng, who teaches it together with Chase. Chase is the author of LangChain. So it's a nice combination and an enjoyable course. Yes, of course. What you really need is this link, because that link has the answers to every question. And here is the link. So then you open this and you see those little pictures, anonymous pictures. That shows me that at least 3 people are logged in. And now next one. Yes, did I build Moses AI using the API guide for ChatGPT? No. Good question. But API guide for ChatGPT is, I would say, maybe intentionally weak. It's not really describing the proper architecture. It only allows you to do what they call fine-tuning. But those 2 additional components, they are Pinecone and LangChain, allow you additional. It's all using REST, but I'm using a level above. I'm using only Fast API, which in turns called REST. I'm usually in Python, which actually teaches me some more Python than I knew. Okay, so I'll continue here, but I will also answer your questions. So that's Moses GPT AI, whose architecture is like this. Go to the search engine Pinecone, get the right number of documents, right, we'll discuss that, and then send them through LangChain to ChatGPT, and then you get an answer. There is also another step that I haven't implemented because no time yet, but that answer that you see from ChatGPT, if it runs into politically charged questions, it will add, it will say, that's what I know, but by the way, be careful bringing this question up among the, let's say, you're among people eating tribes, so maybe don't bring this up when you're in a dangerous situation, or maybe something more political. So it will put its own filter on the output. You can also put yet another filter on the output before you show it to the people. This is unfiltered. Okay, good. That is my lab. Yeah, it's all important too. Yeah, ask the rabbi. Don't just go by my decision. The next step is, well, I implemented it for a startup that I'm working on. The startup is called Caseify. It's for defense attorneys, criminal attorneys, and nobody did anything for them. There is such a thing as constitution in the States. We know that, we're not Talmud. And the constitution says that every person will get a right to the lawyer even if he cannot pay. That's called public defenders. The public defenders have their systems, but once they go outside of the public and constitution doesn't pay them anymore, now they need the system. The system is called Caseify, and I am right now in the test of this Caseify. So let's log in, okay? And let's look at a case. Now, I saw a movie about how Winnie the Pooh went rogue and started killing people in the company of the piglet. I thought that's a good case, and I used that. But in addition to this, there is the Caseify AI. Okay. Now, I'm almost there. I trained it on the case, but not on the piglets case. I trained it on a specific case that involves two minors that had guns, and that's a bad thing. And right now, it will always talk only about that case. My next step, I promised Sunday, to train it on the specific documents in this case. Where are they? So let me show you the full system. App, Caseify, that's the real version, not the test version. And here, our lawyers, they can assign me as a paralegal. So I'm acting as a paralegal. That's the case. And that case has two documents. So these are the documents that I use for training. And since I'm looking at them right now, I'll show you something else. This is the police report. The police report is PDF, and it is also readable. As you can see, you can get the text out of that. So what I did is just did exactly that. Now, it won't work. That comment I will answer a little bit later, but it will not work if you give it full documents for many reasons. You need to be smart about massaging the documents. In this case, I'm breaking them into paragraphs. So I'm sending it this document broken into paragraphs in a pretty simple implementation. And by the way, I think that's the rundown, that's the core document. And by the way, when I do this, I am asking ChatGPT to write the code. So I asked it to write the code. It wrote code breaking into paragraphs. That was it. My next document was court document. Now this is a document that is requiring OCR. Well, there are many ways to do OCR, but all of them will have that number as part of the text. So as I was agonizing on how to remove those numbers, and I asked my lawyer who's working on the team, and he said, no, don't remove them. The numbers are extremely important. That is how in the Stone Age, they referred to the court document places. They would say page number 5, line 21 before ChatGPT. And I gave that to ChatGPT as text. And you know what it said? It said, oh, that's a court document. I know this. I'll figure it out what to do with them. And the result was that it can talk about both documents. So now I can ask things like, what are the charges? What are the charges? That's the very bottom of the document. Maybe you don't see it, so I'm telling you. And besides it moving it here, what are the charges? So give it some time to think. By the way, that is a best practice. Give the model time to think. It means something else according to Andrew In. But in any case, it answered. The charges are as follows: charge number 2, charge number 3. Now, what happened to charge number 1, I don't know, but I will let Louis figure it out as soon as I finish the implementation, because I need to retrain that on a new case. They want, the lawyers, they want to deal with their cases and not with one and the same. But look, it is just amazing, isn't it? How serious. See the charge. Okay. Okay, it says the charges are quite serious because illegal possession of concealed weapon, and then there was gang involved, suspect added. Now, I don't know how to ask the right questions, but our two lawyers that were gradually more and more excited, they asked the right questions, and it quoted from the precedent. It said, that's the famous case of so-and-so, which we don't know. We asked, do you know this case? He said, no, I don't, because you didn't provide me with that. But one of the police, he says, mentioned that in the report. Well, that's a jaw dropping. And the lawyers immediately said, oh, well, so that is a game changer, of course, because imagine you have 100 pages long document, all paper, and suddenly ChatGPT begins to answer questions based on that. Then, of course, they have their favorite thing is that it will kill us all, and very interesting precedents because one lawyer asked questions but didn't check the answers, and something pretty bad happened. Okay, but that is the state of the art. The reason I'm telling you the whole secret is because here it is. Andrew Ng told us how to build it. Well, I have to deal with each document specifically. Some of them I have to massage. Like the way I prepared the Talmud document was not the same way I prepared the court document. What was special about this? Well, here is what was special. Let's look at the original document. Let's look at one document. Well, I tried to give it paragraphs. It wasn't smart about this because in this case, the document is short and it's a whole composition on the theme of Paganini, so to say. It is a complete essay on that page. So giving the whole page has much more meaning. The simple result was I just gave the whole page. Then I took out this talk to Moses AI. Now, anybody who wants to, he'll go and talk to Moses AI about this page. Some links don't work, but that's already my problem. And then art. I think I took that line out because it doesn't add to the text. So some brain, my poor human brain, was involved. The way I broke down these documents is not the same. But I believe everybody will start putting that into their applications very soon. And much as I love this thing, I cannot hide it from the world and definitely should hide it from you. Okay, that was the second thing that I wanted to show. But based on this idea, you now see you can apply it anywhere. For example, the lawyers immediately ask this question: did I have a conflict representing that guy? And they expect an answer like 3 years ago, you had a case where that guy was, and so on. Now, they didn't work today because it only searches in one document. And since that's a very valid question, I'll have to think of how to supply it with additional information, which again won't be hard because ChatGPT understands tables. It understands any format of additional data. Okay, I have a few projects other than that are working. One of them is I have a open source program for lawyers. It's called Freed. Because it is open source and because for lawyers everything is expensive, and we're not going to discuss this why. So it has the first place on Google search natively. And I'm adding this ChatGPT application right there. So of course, some limitations might apply because not everything is free, but in this case, I'm putting it on a reasonable support. Okay, that's another project. And according to the people at ChatGPT or OpenAI, it's hard to imagine what other projects are. Now, they go for high level, they solve energy problem, health problem of all the world. At the same time, ChatGPT is going to do the little things. So that is a surprising thing, but that's philosophy. Now, let's go back to this here. What I wanted to talk about, bring ChatGPT into your company. And I talked about this. Then the state of ChatGPT of my projects is, we discussed that, courses. So the courses, there are really 3 courses. One of them is have prompt engineering. That's not mentioned here. It's mentioned earlier. Prompt engineering is a little bit above. Yeah, here. All the courses are free. Now, in addition to everything else, they're also free. They're not bad, like some people said, I don't want free courses. No, you just can't pay for them because he doesn't accept money for them. But they are the best courses. So that's the first, prompt engineering. And then the next two, how to build a chain with LangChain and how to build such applications in general. Amazing, right? So the last thing that came out, and let me check, nobody chats anything, probably because it's just amazing. Oh, no. Is there a list of sources for all ChatGPT training data? Good question. All of the world is its oyster. It knows everything. And if you're not using it for everything, then please, by all means, start. I'm not joking. The only thing that it doesn't know is the private documents. So that architecture that I told you, you get the question, you hit the syntactic search engine, you get the right documents, you feed them into ChatGPT. That architecture is also the one that Microsoft espouses. They made their own implementation, of course, and you have to pay them and not another guy. But basically, it's the same idea. So we're not going there. You can find it. It's a well-known architecture, not a secret. But here we are. Here's my ChatGPT. So I'm logged in. No, not sign up. But just log in. Log in with the Google account. And they made it easy now. Here I am. Hello. I'm saying they made it easy with Google, right? With this one. Yes. Now, by default, I'm a GPT-4, and these are the conversations. So I'm doing code review. I write the code, then I say, that's the whole code. It immediately understands I need a review and says pretty good code. Well, I copied it from it itself. But then I would suggest you can change this and that. And right now I'm writing automated sales agent. I despaired of having a salesperson for the startup. So I signed the person to create the items that the person is supposed to perform, like check on the person, how many contacts with the system did he have, and so on. But meanwhile, they came up with a new announcement, and that's the last thing I want to talk about. The new announcement came 2 days ago here. That is OpenAI. And, oh, by the way, let's address. There is an issue with sensitive data. Do not recommend setting sensitive data. That may be true, but that you would have to investigate first. Microsoft claims that it's completely perfectly okay to send sensitive data in their setup, and it's all by count. It also promises that ChatGPT is not storing what you send it, and so on. In other words, it's a separate discussion, but here I would have to say that I disagree. It's okay and it is safe. Now, let's mention one more thing. The law can make anything prohibited, right? And Europe, for example, had a certain law that they wanted to pass, and somebody from OpenAI said that Europe is not quite a leader in an LLM, but they want to be a leader in law setting. That doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work is because, let's say, Italy cut off ChatGPT for a very short time. The productivity of developers dropped 50%. all over the country. With that kind of things, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, when he was traveling, he mentioned that we'll cut Europe out. If you want to be a lawmaker, you won't have anything to make laws about, because that is such a tremendous power right now, this AI, that, in my opinion, you can't control it. Now, of course, you want to control it. That leads to the whole question of safety. All I'm saying is that I don't think you can do it. And that's a very nice discussion to have. So let's have it another time on another channel. That's the new blog post that announced new capability. And it came out 2 days ago. And it immediately shows some of the lectures on YouTube, but I think we can read ourselves. And what it allows you is to do function calling. And that means that you don't just say something, you can do it. Whatever additional things you need to be done, you just say and implement this function. For example, here they talk about you want to check the weather in a special way. So you implement the function and you say, ChatGPT, run that function and it will do what I want. But obviously my next thought is run that function and it will do my sales. Okay, now I'm so excited that I really want to run and start implementing all of that. Therefore, I think I gave you all the right links. Here are the links. The previous links talk about exactly how you do the architecture, all the courses. And I'm giving you that link again, just because maybe you didn't get it the very first time. That's linked to the whole thing. And I'll stop the screen share and suggest that if you want to say something, say it. Or if you want to ask this question in text, you're very welcome. I'm allowing everybody to talk. If you want to look at a specific area next time, then please do that. I want you in the chat here. And I think everybody is just overwhelmed with the amount of new information and things, and not because of me at all, but just because that's what's going in the world. Now, the webinar that I ran just before this one is about quantum computing, which might be just as earth-shattering and groundbreaking, but it definitely doesn't measure up in hype to what we are doing here. You can see that's even more than the new electricity. Okay, questions? Okay, could you make an announcement of the truth or meter fact checking for LLM? Greg, you mean right here, right now, or you mean on my meetup group? Oh, both. Well, guys, here is the announcement. You all see this, right? That's the link. So let's go. I think Greg made the announcement. Or maybe you can give us the link again, Greg. Okay. Lawrence, explosive growth. Need consolidate the tools. Lawrence, yeah, that sounds good. We need that. We need the programmatic access, GPT platform, generative context. The only problem is that it develops much faster than the Congress or any lawmaking entity can do. So it's very hard to control. They talk about what if it creates another model that will be smarter than the previous one. And as Elias Sutskever, who is the chief scientist there at OpenAI, said, yeah, that would be pretty bad. That was the only comment. Okay, so Greg, part of San Francisco Bay Area, which is a great place. But a link? Did you give the link?
Yes, the link is the meetup site.
Oh, so
That
if
is
I
the link just above it.
Yeah, it's meetup.com. You can go by Zoom or you can attend physically.
Just click on the link.
This one? Oh, that one. That's
Yeah,
the one.
you have one for elephant scale as well for your AI and quantum computing.
Oh, thank you. So what people do is they come here and then what they sign up?
Yeah, if you RSVP on the meetup site, then we'll have a Zoom link there. And or if you happen to be in the Bay Area, we'll also be in person. And we'll also be presenting there.
So in here, where do I have to click? Attend online?
Let's see, there should be an RSVP button on there.
Just click on attend online, the attend button on the bottom right-hand side.
Okay, right here. Let's say I use Google account, this one. Okay, I'm signing up, in fact. And here I am. Okay, guys, you all see that the link is in the chat. I will also put it in our Houston meetup. It has about 3,000 people.
Yeah. And he also lists a GitHub. So if you want to look at the code, that'll be available too.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I stopped sharing. That's my bad. So back to sharing. Here's where you guys log in. And I clicked on attend online. And then this is our chat. So in chat, you have the link. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll stop sharing. All right, I stop sharing so that we can talk easier. And right, that's overabundance of knowledge. That's what I would say. But all knowledge of that sort is interesting. So I have a question. If a company wants to use an LLM, why wouldn't they self-host a model to ensure that all prompts are not public? That is a good suggestion. And that is possible if you have the model, right? But with ChatGPT, you do not have the model. They host it on 10,000 GPUs in the Microsoft Cloud, and you cannot. And right now, they are playing with the idea of open sourcing and giving you the model. So you're limited to open models. Now, I probably will talk about that. I think it will be a good idea. I'll tell you why. So let's go here back, share the screen. That is our, what we do. And I usually prepare for the next one. I begin to prepare a little bit early, make a copy of all of that. And that will be next week. So we'll put it next Friday. Okay, but why do you need open LLMs? That's because there are considerations beyond our little world. For example, there is one company where I teach where mentioning ChatGPT is not allowed. And I'm only allowed to teach open models. Now, on my own, I say it's not even worth it to look at any other model, waste of time. And my proof is that open models start where ChatGPT was in 2015. So you're dropping 8 years of concentrated development of people who created essentially general artificial intelligence, whether it have self-understanding or it doesn't, but it has all the other properties. Nevertheless, there are some companies where I might be shot at sunrise if I do this. And I'm going to teach an open LLM course for these guys. The first being, of course, Hugging Face. So I will be prepared. What I'm saying is that for the next week and the next after that, I think we all need the open LLM. We usually say, okay, it's not generic artificial intelligence. It's for a specific purpose, but maybe you have a specific purpose. And it's quite reasonable to talk about that there are additional situations. That's the answer to your question, I hope. Lawrence, right, it is not open. You need the company to update the name. I absolutely agree, and everybody laughs at that. OpenAI was created as a company to stop closing the models. It ended up being essentially a lab for Microsoft, but with its own mind. And everybody picks on why I called OpenAI. And they answer, they have an answer. They talk about that you don't appreciate the structure. We're still the real OpenAI. Why? Because after the investors get their returns, it returns to being automatically converts itself back into open source foundation. And Sam Altman, in his amazing tour around the world, he talks about this and also invites everybody to do a regulation. But honestly, it's a regulation on his terms, because if he doesn't like it, he pulls out of the country, and that's the end of the country. Okay, thank you for this question. Great, okay, right to me. We'll be talking about this online, maybe on the email, and if not, we'll meet another week, next Friday. So everybody have a great weekend, and thank you for coming. Yes, it was very interesting, just because the subject is so. Right, all the best, guys. Thank you.